The rain hammered down on the cobblestone streets of the old European city at 3:27 a.m., turning every shadow into a potential threat. Sarah Mitchell walked alone through the narrow alley, her worn jacket pulled tight against the cold. She didn't look like much to the three men watching from the doorway, just another tourist who'd wandered too far from the safe parts of town. They had no idea they were looking at one of the Navy's most decorated SEALs. Before we begin, tell us in the comments where in the world you're watching from. Sarah had been tracking a human trafficking ring for 6 months, working undercover without backup. Tonight was supposed to be a reconnaissance mission, nothing more. She'd followed a lead to this forgotten district where missing girls had last been seen. The brass back home didn't know she was here. This was personal. One of those missing girls was her sister's best friend, Elena, just 19 years old with her whole life ahead of her. The first man stepped out when she passed the doorway. "Lost, little lady?" His accent was thick, his smile predatory. Sarah kept walking, her training suppressing the adrenaline surge. She'd been in worse situations. 2 more sets of footsteps echoed behind her. 3 against 1. Bad odds for them, she thought grimly. I said, "Are you lost?" The man grabbed her shoulder and spun her around. Sarah let him, keeping her face scared, her body language submissive. She needed to see where they'd take her. If these men were connected to the trafficking ring, they'd lead her right to it. "Please, I'm just trying to find my hotel," she said, her voice trembling convincingly. Years of training had taught her that sometimes the best weapon was appearing weaponless. The second man, taller and meaner looking, laughed. "Oh, we'll take you somewhere. Somewhere you'll fetch a good price." Sarah's blood went cold, but not from fear. These were them. She'd found the right people. They grabbed her roughly, and she let them. One seized her hair, dragging her backward through the alley. The pain was real, sharp and burning, but Sarah had endured far worse during Hell Week. She stumbled and fell, playing the terrified victim while her mind mapped every turn, every doorway, every potential exit. They were taking her exactly where she needed to go. The building they dragged her into looked abandoned from the outside, but inside, dim lights revealed a nightmare. Cages lined the walls, and in them, Sarah saw what she'd feared most, young women, their eyes hollow with despair. She counted 12, maybe 15. Elena had to be here somewhere. "Another one for the morning shipment," the tall man said, throwing Sarah into an empty cage. The metal door clanged shut with a sound that would haunt lesser people. But Sarah wasn't lesser people. She was a weapon, and now she was exactly where she needed to be. She waited, counting seconds, controlling her breathing. The men settled into chairs near the entrance, playing cards and drinking. At 4:15 a.m., their voices grew sluggish. At 4:43 a.m., 2 of them were snoring. The third struggled to keep his eyes open. Sarah's hands went to work on the cage lock. They'd taken her phone but missed the small pics sewn into her jacket lining. Every SEAL knew that you never went anywhere completely unarmed. The lock clicked open in 45 seconds. Moving like a ghost, Sarah crept to the first cage. Inside, a young woman with dark hair stared at her with wide, terrified eyes.
"Elena?"
Sarah whispered. The girl shook her head and pointed 3 cages down. Sarah's heart pounded. She was really here. "Listen to me carefully," Sarah whispered to the first girl. "In 2 minutes, that door is going to open, and you're all going to walk out free. But you have to stay absolutely silent. Can you do that?" The girl nodded, tears streaming down her face. Sarah moved from cage to cage, picking locks with practiced efficiency. When she reached Elena, the girl's face crumpled with recognition. "You're Sarah. I've seen your picture at Maria's house." "We're getting you out," Sarah promised. "All of you!" The guard stirred, and Sarah froze. He rubbed his eyes and stood, walking directly toward the cages. Sarah stepped out of the shadows. "Looking for me?" His hand went to his radio, but Sarah was faster. A quick strike to his throat, a knee to his solar plexus, and he crumpled silently. She caught him before he hit the ground, lowering him quietly. The other 2 guards never stirred. "Everyone out now," Sarah commanded in a whisper. The girls moved like frightened deer, but they moved. Sarah led them through a back door she'd spotted earlier, into a service corridor that smelled of mold and decay. They were halfway to freedom when alarms started blaring. Someone had found the empty cages. "Run!" Sarah shouted. The time for stealth was over. 15 terrified girls sprinted through the corridor behind her as angry voices and pounding footsteps echoed from behind. Sarah's mind raced through her training: evade, escape, protect the asset. Except this time, the asset was 15 innocent lives. She led them up a fire escape and across a rooftop. Behind them, men with guns poured out of the building. Sarah positioned herself between the girls and their pursuers, using the rooftop structures for cover. She had no weapon, but she had something better: a Navy SEAL's training and the desperate courage of someone fighting for others. A bullet pinged off metal near her head. Sarah grabbed a loose pipe and hurled it, buying seconds. The girls scrambled down a fire escape on the building's opposite side. Elena was last, frozen with fear at the edge. "Jump!" Sarah commanded. "I've got you!" Elena jumped, and Sarah caught her, guiding her down to where the others waited in an alley below. The pursuers were closing in. Sarah made a split-second decision. She ran along the rooftop, away from the girls, drawing the gunmen's attention. "This way, you cowards!" she shouted. They followed her, just as she'd planned. Sarah led them on a chase across 3 rooftops before doubling back through a building, losing them in the maze of rooms and corridors. By 5:31 a.m., she'd made her way back to the alley where she'd told the girls to wait. They were gone, but a note was scratched in the dirt. "Police station. Thank you." Smart girl, Elena. Sarah allowed herself a smile before melting back into the awakening city. 3 days later, the trafficking ring was dismantled. Anonymous evidence had appeared at police headquarters: photos, locations, names. 15 girls gave testimony about the mysterious woman who'd saved them, describing someone who moved like smoke and fought like thunder. Sarah sat in a cafe across from her sister, reading the news on her phone. "Says here they're calling her the Ghost," her sister laughed. "Can you imagine? Some vigilante taking down a whole trafficking operation." Sarah smiled into her coffee. "Sounds made up to me." Her sister looked at her carefully. "You've got a bruise on your temple. And your hands are scratched." "Training accident," Sarah said easily. "You know how rough it gets." Her sister didn't look convinced, but she smiled anyway. "Elena called me yesterday. Said to thank you for the flowers you sent." "How is she?" Sarah asked quietly. "Recovering. Scared but brave. She said something strange, though. She said the woman who saved her had eyes just like yours, like she'd stare down the devil himself and not blink." Sarah met her sister's gaze. "Sounds like someone Elena would be lucky to meet." "Sounds like someone I already know," her sister replied softly, reaching across to squeeze Sarah's hand. "Thank you. For whatever training accident gave you those bruises," Sarah squeezed back. "Any time." Outside, the city continued its daily rhythm, unaware that one of its shadows was a guardian angel with a Navy SEAL trident tattooed over her heart and a promise to never let the innocent stand alone.